This is Rome, kicking off my YouTube channel with I thought something a little fun. For those of you guys who like to play Yu-Gi-Oh, I actually recently picked up Master Duel like about 6 months ago, and I started learning the game from scratch, never watching the anime or anything of the sort. And I consider myself pretty decent now, and I wanted to share one of the decks that has given me a lot of success in this game. And it's pretty strong, and it's not really talked about very much. So I thought I would give a video of my own, highlighting this deck and just seeing what you guys think about it. And it's a very, or I wouldn't say strong in like the traditional sense. It's an anti-meta deck. It's a going second deck, but it plays really well into almost all of the meta choices right now. And behind a pretty solid pilot, there's a lot that you can do with this deck, and it's completely garbage. I'll show you guys how. Check this out. So the deck in of itself is a Gren Maju deck with a Golden Castle engine. And it's also a level 8 engine. So it's, as I mentioned, it's going second, which is really good because a lot of the meta decks right now like to go first. So the nice thing about it is that they go first, they get lulled into a false sense of security. You go, or you win the coin toss, then you can I like to wait out the time near zero and then pick going second to make it look like it was a mistake on their part, because Yu-Gi-Oh is a one-of. Like, this is definitely a deck that's going to win you a lot of games because it's a one-of. If they know what you're doing, then it's a little bit harder. But the cool thing about this deck is being that nobody plays it, they don't know how to play around it because they don't know what you're doing. Like, every deck has like a goal in mind, and this deck is really, the goal is just break the board, attack for game. That's literally like what this is in its purest form. So let me get into the whole list here. So for those of you who are familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm sure you're familiar with Maxi and Ash. Like, I just added those as hand traps to help accentuate. So like, for example, Maxi, you get to draw more, so you get more cards, there's more options. Ash, you get to stop them from doing what they're trying to do, and that's also really good because then you go to your turn, then you get to break their board with what little they have. Other hand traps that I have in here that are common: Called by the Grave, obviously to respond to Ash if you need to, and then cross out to respond to Called by the Grave if that also, they end up calling by the grave something on you. So alright, so let's actually get into what makes my deck different from others. So Gren, biggest part of this. So the cool thing with Gren is that the more cards you have in your banish pile, the more damage he does. It's as simple as that. So if you have 10 cards, it's 4,000 attack. You have 20 cards, it's 8,000 attack. So once you get 20 in your banish pile, that's immediately an OTK if they have nothing on their board. So yeah, and a lot of the remainder of the cards will accentuate this banish. You'll see a common theme. Glyph is the whole point of Glyph. There's two reasons I have Glyph. One is to search for Golden Castle. Two, when you normal summon him, you can actually pop a field or spell. No, sorry, a spell and trap in their spell and trap zone. But mainly I have them to search for Golden Castle, but there are games sometimes where if you have Glyph there and you just want to get like an annoying spell out of the way or annoying trap, you can do that with Glyph. So now going into, so the other thing I run in this deck are tribute style monsters. So I have Gamma Steel here, which is like, it banishes, or it tributes one monster on their side of the field. Lava Golem tributes 2, and then Raw Sphere Mode over here tributes 3. Gamma Steel, there's nothing more than that. Lava Golem, the other thing that I want you to note about this is that on standby phases of the enemy's turn, they take 1,000 damage. That's an effect of this card. Really strong. Now let's say they have like 1,000 or less damage, or 1,000 or less life points. You can literally summon Lava Golem to the field, pass turn. I've actually won games like that. I got a lot of hate messages because of that. It's very rewarding. They get so mad. And then Raw Sphere Mode, the effect of this, which is kind of cool, is that you tribute 3 of their monsters, it gets on their side of the board. When it comes back to your side of the board, then they can attack you, or I should repeat that. So if Raw Sphere Mode is the only card you have on your field, they can't attack you because they can't attack this card, and they can't target or do anything to this card with card effects. The only way they can get this off your side of the field is by tributing it. So that's kind of cool because if you need to stall the game out, maybe draw a few more cards to try to like kind of mount an attack or mount like a last ditch effort, Raw Spirit Mode will be there for you. But now this, obviously, if you have another card on the field, then they'll attack that other card on the field. So that's one thing to bear in mind with this card, or with, you know, with Raw Spirit Mode. So now going into, I'll go into Golden Castle because with Hextrude won't make sense without it. So like I said, Glyph searches for Golden Castle. You throw Golden Castle on the field, you can activate Golden Castle's effect, and what that does is it allows you a free summon of either Glyph or Hextrude. You never want to really summon Glyph, you always want to summon Hextrude. Now Hextrude's effect with Golden Castle on the field is, I mean, like Hextrude is strong with Golden Castle on the field. Without Golden Castle on the field, she's useless. But with Golden Castle on the field, you can pop any card on their side of the... Well, actually, no. Let me rephrase that, too. You can pop any card on the field, period. So whenever you use Hextrude, make sure that there's actually a card that you can target on the other side of the field, because if there isn't, then you're forced to pop your own cards, which is really annoying. So make sure that you have a targetable card on the enemy side of the field. That's the first part of this. Second part of this is that you can attack twice as long as there's a monster on the field with Hextrude. Each time you destroy a monster, you gain a permanent 400 attack each time. So you attack 1, 3,000. You attack 2, 3,400. So that's why this card is actually really strong. Like, I mean, this card in itself can be a win condition. Now, so that's Hextrude. That's basically all there is in regards to the engine of Golden Castle. Other thing to note about Golden Castle, though, which is really important, I have to say, is that in addition to summoning Hextrude, and this is per turn, by the way. So, like, next turn, you know, you summon one, let the next turn, it's your turn again, you can summon again. So that's also important. But one other thing to note about this is that anytime the enemy makes an attack on your side of the field, it actually reflects the damage back. So the card gets destroyed and then it gets reflected. So let's say that a 3,000 attack monster hits you. The 3,000 attack monster will get destroyed, sent to the graveyard, and then they'll take 1,500 damage direct to their life points, which is really why this card is strong. But in order to keep this effect on the field, you have to banish 10 at the start of your turn each time. Now, the great thing about this is that you have a Gren who's hungry. So every time you're banishing 10, you're feeding Gren. So, like, you know, if you let's say you open up with Gren in your first 5 cards, or you end up getting Gren at some point in this battle, the game is essentially over if they don't have a response to your summon and your attack. So that's why Golden Castle is really powerful. So moving away from Golden Castle, I like the danger, like I have like a little danger package, like Danger Bigfoot and Danger Thunderbird. So Thunderbird and Bigfoot, they operate almost the same way, just a little bit different. So let's say Thunderbird, you activate Thunderbird's effect. Now, a card gets picked out of your hand at random and sent to the graveyard. If it's not Thunderbird, you summon Thunderbird on the field and you draw an extra card. Same with Bigfoot. So like if it's, you know, Bigfoot, the activation picks another card that's not Bigfoot, Bigfoot gets sent to, or, you know, special summon and you draw an additional card. Other thing that makes these strong is that now let's say you pick Thunderbird. Now Thunderbird gets sent to the graveyard, an effect gets activated to where you can pop any face down card on their field. And Bigfoot, it's any face up card on their field. So that's one thing that you have to understand about these two cards is that let's say I activate Thunderbird's effect and let's say Bigfoot happens to be in that, you know, in my 5 card hand. If they throw Bigfoot away, Thunderbird gets summoned and then Bigfoot's effect goes off, and vice versa. You activate Bigfoot's effect, Thunderbird goes off, it's in the graveyard, that effect gets activated, Bigfoot gets summoned. So just make sure you understand that. Going into Gizmic, Gizmic is a really cool card because it banishes 8 and again feeds Gren. Banish 8 cards from the top of your deck and then you summon him. Now this can work 2 different ways. 1, with him in your hand. 2, while he's in the graveyard. So that's another important thing. So I'm actually gonna shift gears and go into trade-in and why this is important. So I run a level 8 engine. I don't know if I said that in the beginning of the video or not, but most of these cards are all gonna be level 8s for this card. So now I have you could discard any level 8 monster and draw 2 cards. You draw Gizmic, that's free because you can activate Gizmic in the graveyard. You drop Thunderbird, that's an instant pop of a face down card. Drop Bigfoot, instant pop of a face up card. So that's a lot of important parts to this card, or different applications of this card, which makes it very strong. Other thing about Gizmic is, in addition to just banishing 8 to summon him, if you, let's say it's next turn, you can banish 3 cards from the extra deck and target one face-up monster and destroy it. That's also really important. So, like, one application to this is that if you, let's say, like, it's the end of the opponent's turn, you can, banish 8, throw him on the field. Next turn happens, your start or your main phase, you could banish 3 and, destroy a face-down, or destroy a face-up monster. So that's one application of this that's really strong. Alpha is a good starter for, it's a going second card, but it's also a good starter because essentially they have their board set up. It's a free summon of Alpha because Alpha's, like straight from the text is that if their total attack is more than yours, you could summon Alpha. That's a big deal. I mean, it's so you can summon him right off the rip. It's a 3,000 attack monster. Also has an effect where if you activate it, you can pull your Alpha back to your hand, and then you can pull or bounce a card off of their field as well. So their card goes back to their hand. And if the attack is still more than your side of the field, you can pull Alpha back a third time. So that's really strong. So or a second time, I should say. So it's literally put him on the field, activate effect, bring him to your hand, that card goes away, and then you could put him on the field again. That's really strong. And other thing, in addition to the level 8s outside of trade-in, is that, like, I'll go into my extra deck very soon, but it's a level 8 engine. So a lot of the XE's monsters, there's a lot of cool interactions with that, which I'll get into in just a moment. So Nibiru I have on here just because it's an easy anti-spam card. I mean, that's really all there is to it. Like, a lot of these decks now, like, Kashira, Pearly, like a lot of the top decks really rely on comboing and spamming. So you can put an end to that with Nibiru. Harpy's Feather Duster, pretty staple, destroys all spells and traps. Now, Mind Control and Change of Heart are 2 very important cards in this deck. Really, all 3 of these, but I'll explain these 2 for now. So, Change of Heart and Mind Control have the same idea of they pull one monster from their enemy side of the field to your side of the field. Change of Heart, you can attack with it. Mind Control, you can. But what's important about these 2 cards is that it can either do one of 2 things. One, it pulls the board away, so that way the board is empty and you can OTK. Or, if they have a level 8 monster, you can pull a level 8 monster on their side of the field, and then you can use it to XE summon, or you can just eliminate it. Like, let's say you have they have a card that you absolutely hate, you pull it to your side of the field, you can link it off with Nightmare Phoenix. So that's also why I like these cards. Monster Reborn, kind of the same idea where, like, it's just, you just pull something out of the graveyard and special summon it, but it's either graveyard. So now if they have level 8 monsters on their side of the field, that they're using, and they go to the graveyard, you could pull that level 8 to use as material for an XE summon. Or, let's say Gren is in the graveyard, they destroyed it somehow, or they popped it with a card, whatever, it's in the graveyard, you have a lot of cards in your banish pile, you can just straight up Monster Reborn him and attack for game. And so yeah, that's Monster Reborn has a lot of different applications. So Pot of Desires, same deal. Banish 10, what does that do? Everything always goes back to Gren. Banish 10, draw 2 cards. Cool thing about this is like I said, I'm running a lot of tribute monsters. So, if you get a Gamma Steel, Lava Golem, or Raw Sphere mode out of these 2 cards, then that breaks their board. So, and also you're fueling Gren in the process. So that's really all there is to him. Triple Tactics, Talent, and Triple Thrust both are good cards for obvious reasons. They're very broken cards. So Triple Tactics gives you free reign to any normal spells. So you need Harpies, Wipe the Back Row, Mind Control, Change of Heart, Monster Reborn, even Trade-In, like all of these, 8 Pot of Desires, all of it. You have access to all of these with Triple Tactics stars. Triple Tactics Talent, obviously, draw 2 cards, take control of the monster, or look at your opponent's hand and choose a card and shuffle it. Obviously, so many applications with that as well. Went over Golden Castle. Now, Super Poly, I also have for the same idea of tribute. You just want to tribute monsters. So, twofold. 1, tribute monsters. 2, any of these fusion summons may have like additional effects that can also benefit you as well, but mainly just a tribute. I'll go into those in just a moment. We already talked about Call by the Grave and Cross Out. You already know what those do. So, Mud Dragon, I'm just going to go over their summoning conditions, and then I'll go over their effects in a second. So, Mud Dragon, 2 monsters with the same attribute with different types. This is an easy card. You know, it's easy. The summon conditions for this is easy. A lot of times you find yourself doing this just to get monsters off the board. Diplexer, 2 Cyberus monsters. Garura, 2 monsters with the same type and attribute but different names. This was big during Fluanderies, because Fluanderies, you know, there wasn't really very many ways to counter them, and Garura really changed the game up for them, and that might have even dropped them from their top spot. Earth Golem, Cyberus monster and Link monster. Starving Venom, 2 dark. Predaplant, 1 fusion, and 1 dark. So I try to add all of these in just as like targets that, you know, like the summon like this is almost like a catch-all for summon conditions. So like you have Super Poly, any of these can go live, or you would like to think that any of these can go live with most of the decks that are being played. Mud Dragon for sure. Starving Venom for sure, because, you know, dark monsters are very common. Predaplant not so much, but it may happen, or you may come across it. And then, yeah, obviously, all of that I mentioned. But these 3 are probably my most common. Mud Dragon, Starving Venom. Well, actually, just 2, really. Mud Dragon and Starving Venom. Like, and Garura. Garura you see a little bit, too. But anyway, so applications of all of these cards. Let me quickly go over that. So, Mud Dragon. I'm just going to, like, say a scenario, and then it'll make sense. So, let's say Gren is on your field, and you don't want Gren to be affected. What you can do with Mud Dragon is you could change the attribute of Mud Dragon to Fire, which is Gren's attribute, and then it won't be affected by, or yeah, it says it right here, cannot target this card or monsters with card effects. That's a big deal. So like you get Mud Dragon on the field, you can change it, and let's say even Hextrude. Hextrude is dark, so let's say you have like Golden Castle Hextrude, you get a Mud Dragon on your side of the field, you can switch it to dark, and now, you know, Hextrude won't get affected. That's big. Diplexer, I don't really use that much. I mean, there may be some use or some value from it, but it's really just you know, a card to sacrifice. Garura, you get a so there's 2 things with Garura that I think are pretty important. One, you attack any direct life point damage happens to your opponent gets doubled. So if they have no board, 1500 becomes 3000 for attack. And you know, how any iteration of that. Let's say 200 life points get diminished, that becomes 400. Other effect is that if this card gets sent to the graveyard in any way, then you could draw a card. That's also big. Ignister, I mean, I don't really use him that often. It doesn't come up that much, but I like having him just in case. Starving Venom, the applications, 2 applications for this card. One, you can target, so upon summoning it, you can target a card and you'll absorb its attack. So let's say it's a 3000 attack monster on their side of the field. Target it, absorb the attack, so it'll be 5800 damage you can do, and it will take its effect. You know, like you can use the effect as well, it borrows it. Also, if this card gets destroyed, then it destroys all special summon monsters on the enemy field. Other big deal. Predaplant is just a simple negate. You could target one card, put a counter on it, then it becomes negated, it can't use its effects. That's all there is to the you know, the fusion summons. Now going to the XEs, there's 2 different trees of XE climbs that you can do that are beneficial. So one is your OTK. It's Draglubian. So, you know, 2 level 8s Draglubian. Activate Draglubian, you pick Numeron, and then, you know, Hope Harbinger goes to Numeron as a material. Activate Numeron Dragon's effect. You know, he discards Hope Harbinger, gets 9000 attack, and then you attack for game. But it's only once. So, like, you need to make sure that the board is open or you're able to attack for game when you use this, because then after that, Numeron is useless. So let me continue where I would left off. So yeah, I was saying, so Numeron, you know, he becomes useless after that. You attack with him one time, you better make sure that that's the end of the game, because then after that, then he becomes useless, and then, I mean, now you're going to have to try to recover. So that's one part of this. The other part of this is that if you so like there's 2, like I said, there's 2 combos from Draglubian. So you can do Numeron route for the OTK, or you can do Hope Harbinger for part 2, or, you know, the other part of it. So now Hope Harbinger will attach, obviously, Numeron to it as materials, and Hope Harbinger actually gets, you get a free spell negate. So, like, what that does is, like, you know, Hope Harbinger's on the field, they use the spell, you end up negating and absorbing it as material for yourself. That's one ability that you're going to use the most. The other effect of this card is that if they attack any other card on your field, you can discard material and then force it to attack Hope Harbinger. And Hope Harbinger has 3,000 attack, so that's kind of, he's a big boy. So that's the other part about it. So that's Dragoolian. Now going into the other chain is Dingirsu. You level 8 into Dingirsu. So there's 2 effects that he has, but the one that I'm mainly used is just sending an opponent's cards to the graveyard. And so bring Dingirsu on the field, then you get to send a card away. Then you can go into Pain Gainer into defense position. Then from Pain Gainer, you can go into Seven Sins, which is a 4,000 attack, monster, which is wild. Now, Dingirsu's effect, like I said, the discard 1, but then if you decide to keep him on the field, he's card protection. He has 2 materials. You can protect your cards twice, so it protects it from destruction. So if they want to destroy your Golden Castle, your Hexroot, anything, you can discard a material and it doesn't happen. Pain Gainer, you can discard, when you put Pain Gainer on the field, it's going to have 2,200 defense almost all the time whenever you're using, whenever your XY's climbing in this fashion. So it's 2,200. So anything under 2,200 defense on the opponent's side of the field, you can discard material off of this card, and it will destroy everything under 2,200 defense on the enemy side of the field. Other effect, which is kind of broken, which actually won me a game once, it was wild, is that if they activate a spell or trap while this card is, while you have this card on the field, it actually inflicts 600 damage. So somebody had, let's say 400 damage, they activated a trap or spell, and I attacked them for a game. And I was like, what? It was a fluke win. I'm not even going to act like I did that on purpose, but it was so cool when it happened because, that's why it pays to read your cards. I was like, wait a minute. So now I know, and I'm definitely, from there, I definitely use this card in that fashion. And Seven Sins is also really awesome. Again, 2 effects. Most of these cards I feel like have 2 effects in my deck here. One with it is that it's also a protection. So if any card gets attacked, you can discard material off of it and protect the card. Other effect is you can discard 2 materials and you can destroy as many special summon monsters on the opponent's side of the board as you want. Other big deal for this card. And then after you attack with 7, so let's say you do the XY's Climb, Dingirsu, Pain Gainer, 7 Sins, you attack with 7 Sins, then you get to go into Zeus. So if an XY's monster, any XY's monsters battles once, you can go into Zeus, but doing it this way assures that Zeus has a ton of material. So the idea with Zeus is if you discard 2 materials, it wipes the entire board. That's literally what Zeus does. That's his whole thing. So the crazy thing about it doing it this way is that you can wipe the board twice. So you have 4 materials. So whenever you're using this card, make sure you use it 1 time because it will prompt you to use it twice, and you don't want to use it twice. So that could come off as misleading. So you only use it 1 time, wipe the entire board, and then you save it for the next time you need to wipe something off the board. And that's literally Zeus. And then Nightmare Phoenix, as I mentioned earlier, it's really just link material. Let's say you change a heart or mind control somebody, you pull them to the side of the field and you don't want to deal with it, you just link it to Nightmare Phoenix and then you get it off the board. Nightmare Phoenix, if you discard one of your cards, you can target a spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it. That's literally all there is to Nightmare Phoenix. So that's the whole deck. A whole bunch of things to remember. That's why I put it in a video, because you can always go back and refer to it if you have any questions about anything. And also, if you have any other questions, you can leave any kinds of comments, leave it down in the comments, any questions, any feedback, what you like, what you don't like, maybe even some suggestions. I mean, this deck is pretty much an accumulation of my entire time, my entire 6 months playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I kind of took an archetype of this and then just kind of made it my own. So let me know what you think of it. I will record gameplay in a second part to the video. I figured I'd have this for informational and the other one for a little bit more application. So yeah, thank you for watching and hopefully you learned something new. we are back for part 2. Alright, so one thing I kind of wanted to, just a little disclaimer about the deck. You know, I did the deck list in my previous video. There's no real, there's no real weaknesses to this deck. That's one thing I didn't really speak about, like if there's any real setbacks. The only setback, if there was anything, would probably be like if it's, if you end up bricking, but you don't really brick too often because whatever card you get is an actionable card. The only thing that can really stun this deck, I guess, would be like an Ash Blossom. I mean, because even a Maxi, you're not really spamming or comboing too often. So, like, I mean, Maxi does get some value if they use it against you. But Ash Blossom would probably be your biggest enemy in this deck. But the thing, again, like, people are not going to know you're facing this deck. Or, like, when they start the game and they see what you're doing, they're not going to be able to pinpoint it until it's too late. Because, you know, when you see a certain card, you see a certain thing, you're like, oh, it's this deck. Like, Pearly. Oh, it's Pearly. Or, Kashtira. Oh, it's Kashtira. Like, this deck, they're going to be like, what is this guy doing? And then they're going to die. So, I mean, it's, yeah, it's a really good deck in that sense. It's more, and that's the thing, Master Duel is like a one-off. So like you play one game, you win or you lose, then you move on. So this is a really good one-off deck, because by the time they realize it, you know, there's no game 2. Because, you know, if they had a game 2, then they probably would side in certain things to like kind of screw you over, but you know, there's none of that here. So with, you know, now let me shift gears into the replays, and I can start accentuating, you know, or highlighting some of the plays that you can make in this deck. Like, I have 2 different replays I wanted to show. This one is against somebody using some gimmick that would otherwise ruin both decks, but I was able to play through 2 different things. So let's get this started. So first things first, I'm gonna kind of speed and slow up, but this guy goes into a barrier step. What the hell? Could you imagine? Like, that would ruin so many decks. But guess what I have? I have a trade-in, and you know what that means? Bigfoot's going to the graveyard, and what does that do? Bye-bye barrier statue. Get that shit out of here. So now that's one. So now I throw Gren into defense to see if I can charge him at a later time. I pull Bigfoot back out. I was gonna use Golden Castle, but they sold him the shit out of that. So that's okay, because we still have some follow-up. So I decided to end it here and attack with Bigfoot and then to see what he does. So now, watch what he does. This is the second part I had to play through, which is a little terrifying. Watch my crap. So you think, okay, whatever, who cares? Masquerena, okay, still not afraid. Now I'm afraid. Unchained Abomination, bullshit. So now he turns Abomination on, attacks me, and he throws away my Gren. I was like, okay, well, I guess. But guess what I still have? Gamma Seal. So he's about to get Gamma Sealed. And it's bye-bye an Abomination bullshit. So now I get Danger on the field. Draw 1. Pot of Desire, see what I can get from that. I do get my Golden Castle. Then that in turn gives me my Hex. I use the... Oh, see, no, actually, I was going to use it, but then he inferned me. But guess what? I can still play through that, because I can the Gersu, and I still send this shit to the graveyard. Bye-bye, Clockwork Knight. Pain Gainer. 7 Sins. Now, here, I just attack for game. But I just threw 7 Sins on just in case, you know, to make sure there wasn't any other further follow-up. But you see it here. Like, I mean, this is literally everything that I kind of discussed in my deck list, all like in one video. I mean, there's so many things happening there. But the second one was a loss that I wanted to show you guys against the meta deck. But look at how hard I had. You know, I made it really hard for him to win this game. He really, it was by the skin of his teeth. There was one play that still pisses me off after seeing it for the 100th time. Because if he didn't do that, then this was my game to win. So check this out. So Clue Clock, immediately I'm maxing that. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. But then he ends up going to Welcome, and I think to myself, well, you know, let me ash this, just because I didn't want him to start. I was like, I could max C, but then he'll set up a board or he'll do nonsense. So I was like, let me just not let him do any of that. So I probably should have just saved the max C for next turn. Now he has he brings his Kukok back, and Big Welcome's still here. So now I go to Glythe, search for Golden Castle, get Golden Castle on the field, get my Hextrude out. Then I pop this and I force him to use it because now he has no plays. Like, he just kind of takes the card and just pulls it into his hand. Does this, you know, Storby-Torby nonsense. Now I try to Bigfoot. Unfortunately lose the Gren, which I'm sad about, but at least I get this and I get Pot of Desires. I elect to attack here. My goal was to attack and then to Xyz after the fact, but then unfortunately, like, he, you know, Blabbers, there's always a follow-up at any given point of the damn phases. So let him play through all this nonsense, and now that's about where he stops. But now Hextrude can attack twice, so that's exactly what I do. I attack twice, gain the 4,000 attack, gain the 4,000 attack. Then I let him attack. Now all these cards are done. Now I end up Xyzing into Diggersu again, send that card to the graveyard so you can't use it. Pain Gainer, and then 7 Sins, and now I'm like, okay, here I'm safe. No, I'm not. Fucking Nibiru cheating. Oh, so upset. So he Nibiru's my 7 Sins, and that was the one play that probably won in the game. Because, like, after that, there was nothing left for me. Like, I tried. I mean, you'll see that I still continue to play on my back foot and still, like, slow him up. Because now he's just going to do 1,000 things on his... Or actually, no, he's not. So, like, I use Golden Castle, and then he, you know, I was going to reflect damage back to him. But then he ends up pulling it so that way it doesn't attack. And now he just continues to do all this bullshit. Now he just has like 1,000 things, he summons things, sets up a board. Now my plan after this on my turn is to, actually I don't even get to do anything because he still keeps continuing to do nonsense, like you'll see it. So I pull the Lava Golem straight away just to get those cards out, the broken cards out. Force him to use Big Welcome just to like get that also off the field. Then he pulls Lovely and then he pops my shit. So that's done, but then I triple Taxic his ass. I figured if I pulled, you know, the Lava Golem, I could attack with 3,000. Get a card off the field and then give it back to him, which I do. So he gets the card back. Oh yeah, I also max C here, just because I know he's going to do a lot of bullshit. So now I max C and maybe I can draw a bunch of cards. But he's smart, he only does one, so all I get is a useless traded. Unfortunate, but you know, it happens. Now this is funny, because this also accentuates how Golden Castle works, because this guy finds it out the hard way. So now he attacks me, gets hit. Attacks again, gets hit again. Now he's like, alright, I should probably stop attacking. So then I get one more play, which is useless, I think. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's useless. I don't get to do anything. I popped that one card, but then it doesn't even matter, because he's going to do 1,000 things. This is the end of my turn even, so it's not even like I'm, you know, he's doing all this on the end of my turn. That card is gone, and then that's game. So you see, like, how I was able to do a lot to him without, you know, I mean, I was on my back foot the whole game after that, that 7 Sins, mishap with the damn Nibiru. And I was still able to sort of make it tough for him, but then, yeah, that was the game. Like, he just destroys me and it's over. So, there you have it, guys. That's, you know, showing you, like, the full, you know, the full extent of Gren Maju. As I mentioned, if you guys have any questions, any suggestions, any comments, let me know. Love to hear about it. And if you want to see anything else in the future, also be sure to let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video.